So our next animal is actually going to be another native animal, but a salamander this time. So this is Vern. He is one of our eastern tiger salamanders, the Ambystoma tigrinum. So these guys are going to be found in Alabama, but they're pretty secretive and actually a protected species now. Now you may notice that he is quite dirty. He is dirty because he is a mole salamander. They love to burrow underneath the ground, and so you'll see these guys really never because they're underground. They're usually only going to come out during when they're hunting for food, or when they are coming out to mate and to breed. And so these guys, again, he's named Vern after the vernal pool, which is where a lot of these guys, where salamanders will breed. I'm sure you guys know all about the vernal pools. So we named him Vern, which I think is a very fitting name. So these guys are actually really great voracious hunters. So they're gonna pretty much eat anything that is meat related, whether that's a bug or a worm or even like a pinky mouse or anything like that. They are carnivores and really fantastic hunters. So he's going to be out looking for food. That's probably what he's looking for now. I woke him up, so he's probably now looking for food. But these guys, again, very secretive animals and very, very cool. Again, salamander, they love to be near water. Now these guys, even though he's not going to be living in the water per se, or right next to the water, he's going to be pretty close under the ground, but he does prefer that moisture climates. So if you see one of these guys, let state officials know, because again, we love to know their numbers. They're kind of on the decline through pet trade, habitat loss, and just habitat issues as well, just environmental issues. So hopefully we can bring these guys back to a larger number where they're not having to be as protected.
And these guys are good because they eat insects and things
they
like that.
do. They eat all kinds of insects. They eat grubs, so if you don't want grubs in your yard, or fly larvae, anything like that, they're going to be eating all that nasty stuff that you don't want. All those bugs are very important. Not all of us want them everywhere, so salamanders are great to have around. This is what we call one of our indicator species, and that they indicate by letting us know that something's wrong with their environment. So if I go out here in the park somewhere and I'm looking for salamanders and don't see them where I normally would, that means there's something going on in that environment, and so we need to figure out what's going on. So salamanders are very important for our pest control. They're great as part of the food chain, of course, and they're great indicators to let us know if something in our environment, our habitats, have gone seriously wrong. He likes to climb.
Why are you spraying water on Vern?
Yes, because our salamanders are amphibians, so they have kind of that wet, kind of slimy skin, and their skin is covered in pores. So those pores help them breathe, and so these guys are actually really intolerant to pollution. So if you ever see them present in your habitat, that means your water is extremely clean. Now I'm not saying go drink it, but it's clean for these guys. So he likes to stay nice and moist, like Lauren said. He likes to stay in wet habitats, so this is kind of helping him pretty much be comfortable.
They are related to the spotted, so they are our mole salamanders, just like our spotted salamanders are, which we have a really great spotted salamander population here in the park. And we have one of our vernal pools. We do vernal pool programs in February, March, and April. The beginning of April, they start to dry up about mid-April. We actually will go see in those field trips our spotted salamander egg masses in our vernal pool and let kids get to see that and stuff. So it's really fun. But we do have our vernal pool it's hopping. It's hopping with life. Usually this time of year.
Now tell us why vernal pools are important.
Vernal pools are incredibly important for mainly for the, in my opinion, because if we didn't have vernal pools, we wouldn't have a lot of our salamanders and our frogs and a lot of our amphibians. So vernal pools are spring pools or ephemeral pools, meaning that they only really are going to be around in the late winter, early springtime. And so they're void of fish. So these guys don't have to worry about fish eating their eggs or their young. And so they can go lay their egg masses in the vernal pool without having to worry too much about predation. And so when those vernal pools are there, you're going to see thousands of eggs, whether it's frogs or salamanders, and this is a nice, safe environment, like an amphibian nursery that's nice and safe. And then once that dries up, these guys will hopefully by then have morphed into their adulthood, and then will move off into their little territories and find their homes, and then they'll come back to the same vernal pool that they hatched in. They'll come back to the same one to breed once they are mature enough to do so. And so if we didn't have these wetlands, these vernal pools, a lot of our salamanders and amphibians in general wouldn't have a place to breed, and we would lose a lot of species. So very important wetland.
Yes, so this is our female Maggie. She is named after a huge destination point here at Oak Mountain State Park called Maggie's Glen. So she shows that our eastern tiger salamanders actually come in slightly different patterns. So Vern has kind of our more molted, spotted pattern, while she is the more green with black spots. But these are both natural colorations. She's a little on the older side. Lauren, do you remember how old she is?
She's about 10 years old now.
While Vern is probably, I believe, around 2 years old. So 2 or 3, he's a little on the younger side.
3, yeah. And then Vern here, he's one that he's not on display. We use him for education programs, so he lives off display, so he has some privacy. But Maggie here is on display, so you can come see one of these guys 7 days a week from 9 to 5 here at the Interpretive Center. So you can come check out Maggie. She's usually down here waiting for you to feed her, or up on her ledge waiting for you to feed her. She's all about food.
And that's usually where I feed her, up there. So usually when guests come, they'll see her little head just kind of poking up over the ledge.
And believe it or not, these guys are actually pretty personable, so they do recognize people. And so when you come in, she loves to say hello. So sometimes she'll even try to bite at the glass, thinking you're going to feed her. But these guys can get to be pretty large animals, get to be pretty big salamanders. And I've known of some. Dr. Backegard actually had one that lived, I think, was over 20 or 30 years old. They can live a pretty long time. So very fascinating animals. Very cool animals.